Hey everybody, welcome to a Respectful Conversation. I'm your host, Katie Muse. Today, we're going to be talking about
Netflix during quarantine, a great counter to our close friend Marco's working out during quarantine. We figured to give you guys the other side of it.
The other side of the pillow.
the other side of the pillow. Nice.
The cool side of the pillow.
We have a dynamic duo that is Dylan and Tommy. Say hi, guys.
Hi guys. There's a whole bunch of awesome shows out there that are just waiting to be discovered. And we are here to hopefully share with you some of the stuff that we did. We watched You Show Me Community. We have to obviously talk about Tiger King. We can't leave it out. We have to at least acknowledge it. Please tell me you watched it. You didn't watch it?
No.
I didn't either, Dylan.
I needed to watch. I was way too curious, and I won't lie. I watched the whole series in like 2 days.
Wow. Is that like your first show you wanted to dive into then, Dylan?
That was the first show I watched during quarantine.
Right.
The people on it are not the greatest people in the world. I disagree a little bit with how they go about conducting, like running the zoos and all that stuff. But it's just like absolutely wild, start to finish, what they do, like during the zoo, like in the zoos with the people, what they do to each other back and forth the whole time. Like Carol Baskin, obviously, she talks and tries to like free Joe Exotic's tigers, like, oh, he's like such a horrible owner and does all this stuff. She does the same thing. It's identical. She does nothing different. She just yells at him for doing it and just does it on the side. And did she kill her husband? It's up in the air. Everybody knows this.
It did like mark the beginning of quarantine.
It was I kind of missed that era of quarantine.
We were firmly
Right?
down the hill when that began.
We were still half in denial about how long we were actually being in quarantine for.
2 weeks.
Remember when we said 2 weeks?
Yeah.
What about you, Tommy? What are your first shows?
So this is going to relate to my withdrawal of sitting at a bar and being a drunken idiot. When I watched Cheers.
I was gonna guess Cheers. Wow.
Have you seen it, Katie?
No, I haven't. That's one that and I learned on actually what we were talking about before we started recording. I learned on the Frasier episode that Frasier was like a spin-off of Cheers because Frasier was on Cheers, which I was not aware of.
What? Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. But I've never seen Cheers. I know it's like set in Boston and everything. So it's like, wow, like really close to home, Tommy. Jeez.
Get right there around the corner.
Yeah. Did it bring you some comfort then?
No. Because it reminded me, hey, remember when we could go outside?
Yeah.
Those were times.
Good times. One of my first shows, what I was watching before, and Dylan, you'll appreciate this because you're dating a British person. I was watching The Crown before, like I started The Crown before like lockdown, quarantine, and everything happened. And then when I got home, I watched like at the time the most recent season was the 3rd season, and I watched that and like caught up on it with my parents. And have either of you seen The Crown?
I have seen like little clips. Grace is trying to get me to watch it. She watched the whole thing with her parents and absolutely loves it.
Yeah, it's one of those shows that's just it's like every episode is like a short film, like a really good movie. But there's like 10 episodes, about 8 or 10, I always forget, of like a season. And then the interesting thing too, like the first 2 seasons had one cast, so like there was like a young queen and a young Prince Philip and everything, and then in the 3rd season they brought in a new cast to like age everybody.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Right, it is pretty cool. It's like a weird adjustment. I feel like there's a lot of shows that I wouldn't enjoy that happening with because like you get attached to like but I guess technically it's the same like characters, and by characters I mean like real actual people. But yeah, and then later on, during quarantine a few months ago, the 4th season came out. and they started to get into all the like Princess Diana, Prince Charles stuff, and that like ramped stuff up. So yeah, that was one of my first shows. What's your next show, Dylan?
Community. We have to go Community. I began watching the Community after Tommy and Tim nagged me for months.
Genuinely months.
Genuinely, it took me months to actually sit down and start watching this show.
And me making Dylan sit down and watch it.
Hey, we got there. And
Yeah, it's making the list.
oh, it is some fantastic television. My new favorite show since How I Met Your Mother, which I also just watched a year ago. To showcase how in the cave I live. I watched two iconic shows in a year, having never seen them before.
I like tried to have Community be one of my shows during quarantine, but I just had a severe like aversion to Joe McHale's character, and just like I didn't have the patience for him.
It was a laugh I needed a lot of times.
Yeah.
Deep in quarantine, not really sure what was going on. It was nice just to like get in and have like some fun humor going on. But
We need some dumb fun.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
but it has like the dumb fun factor. It's got like the overarching like themes and stuff going on like across episodes. It's not like one episode they do one thing, one episode they do another thing. There's like storylines that carry on throughout, which is nice to see. They throw you the wholesome moments a handful of times, which is part of my favorite thing I love about How I Met Your Mother. Was like they would just have like really fun, awesome episodes, and then out of nowhere they hit you with like something really heavy, like you weren't expecting it from a show like that. But Community doesn't do it to the same extent. But they definitely, but they have their moments in there and stuff like that. And then of course the paintball episodes. I think is that some of the more famous like people outside don't watch Community. If you know one thing about it, it's the paintball because
That got the Russo brothers in with Marvel.
really,
Yep, that's what got Winter Soldier.
I didn't know that. Well, because I knew the Russo brothers did Community and Marvel.
Yeah,
Or
no,
they did
that
Community
first
before.
paintball episode, like, wow, these two have something.
Oh, really? Because it was the Russo brothers and Dan Snyder, who's the creator of Rick and Morty, but Community was their like brainchild, if you will, before they all went off and did their other stuff. But they also do a bunch of like they have episodes that like mimic TV or like famous movies. Like that's what the paintball stuff was. Well, they had like a Walking Dead themed Halloween episode where everybody like turns into zombies. But they do it in a way that like makes sense to what's going on around them. And it's not like randomly here's a bunch of zombies. Like they set it up so it's like believable, if you will. Like they had the dinner at the Halloween episode like turned out to be bad and gave them all disease that made them act like zombies randomly. Spoiler alert. But they have like they do a couple stop motion animation episodes. They do like the same animation style. Wait, I guess that's stop motion. Rudolph.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Rudolph movie, they do do a thing in that. They do one with like G.I. Joe. But they have a whole bunch of really fun, like cool ideas that just kind of go around the whole thing. It's quite wholesome. I really enjoy it. Do you know what else we watched that weekend? Borat 2. I know it's
get the title right.
Borat 2. Nope.
Is Borat's subsequent movie film.
Ah, yes, of course.
That came out like last year, right?
Yeah. Because he was filming it right up until the pandemic, and the pandemic happened, and he actually like tied it into the movie itself. But there was like the fact that gave us like genuine, solid reporting every now and then, and like the state of America. I was like, this is so much about the country that we're learning so much from this satirical film. But it's a ride. It's not a little slight spoiler. He breaks into a Trump rally being hosted by Mike Pence, who's like on stage, and he comes in dressed up as Donald Trump, and he's got like the co-actress with him, and he goes like, "Pence, here, my daughter, like, she's a present for you," and Mike Pence just stands on the stage like no reaction whatsoever, because what are you supposed to say to that?
Wow.
But it's like a little glimpse. It was actually fairly well done.
Yes.
There was a lot of cringy, really like, oh my god, why am I watching this moments?
Yeah.
But overall, I got to applaud him a bit.
It was very much a go out and please vote movie.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, interesting. I would not have guessed that that was the case. My next show is a show called Terrace House. Do either of you know what Terrace House is?
No.
So Terrace House, it was actually Terrace House Tokyo, and so Terrace House is a show that is in Japan. Usually they've done seasons where it's been in like Hawaii and stuff, but it's the show where basically if the three of you, like Dylan, Tommy, and Tim, and then like me, Demi, and Grace, if we all lived together and there were just like we were recorded while we were doing it and literally just living like our everyday lives. Like there's no like challenges or like anyone gets voted out or anything. It's just like if you feel like it's your time to move out of the house, you move out of the house. And it was literally just that, and it's a beautifully like surprisingly peaceful show to watch, especially like because reality TV usually people consider that to be very high drama and everything.
Yes.
But it's the most like peaceful, like chill reality show ever. And then it's like it makes when something dramatic does happen, it makes it even better because it's like they're giving you like crumbs, and it's like you just eat the crumbs up. And so I watched specifically the Tokyo season, which was the most recent season. Around the beginning of quarantine, and then too, between when the people are just living together, they break it up by having another group of 3 women and 3 men who I think are like either A or B list celebrities in Japan. They talk about whatever's happening and just kind of judge it and laugh at it.
It's like a part of the show.
Yeah, and they just go back and forth between these groups of people until the season's done. And it was sad because it had to stop because one of the girls sadly got, I think, really like cyberbullied for it. And she committed suicide, which is very sad.
Oh, she was a wrestler.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So that happened. Shout out to Hannah because she was a sweetie, and it's like super sad. But yeah, otherwise like there's a bunch of seasons of Terrace House. And I will recommend it to anyone who like wants reality TV, but not like the high drama gossip aspect of reality TV. Otherwise, it's just literally just watching people live, and it's a beautiful thing.
Haunting of Hill House.
Oh, that one.
Grace, preface, I'm not a big horror show person. It's not usually my go-to, but Grace is like, this isn't like your typical horror. There's like a whole, okay, did you watch it?
No, but I just remembered, you reminded me that she told me that I would like it. And I was like, but I'm not a horror show person. And I know she knows that.
I'm not either. I mean, there's obviously a handful of jump scares and like your typical horror stuff, but it's more about it follows this family that lived in the Hill House, which is actually in Massachusetts. Fun fact. It's a real haunted house in Massachusetts. And they follow like the family, what happens. They do a little bit like they do a lot of jumping around. But they do it in a way that doesn't like take away from the show. Like it makes sense when they'll be talking about like something that happened back in the house when they were kids, and then it like does like a flashback report to the house, and then it jumps back. There's a couple like my favorite episode. There's one of the daughters that runs a funeral home, and they do an episode where it's like a one shot. They don't like change the cut of it, and it just follows, and the camera just like follows them from behind for the whole episode. And apparently, if you go back and watch, because the house is crazy, crazy haunted, you could see ghosts in like most of the scenes. And people have done like YouTube episodes where they like circle all the ghosts in the background. They're just there in scenes of the characters. They don't like do anything the characters never acknowledge. And I saw a couple of them. There was like one hanging out like in the kitchen mirror randomly for like one cut of an episode, and then like it cut back and it was gone again. And like you wouldn't even notice if you weren't like looking for it. But it was like a really, really well done show. The jump scares can be intense. I was watching at Grace's house back in like July, and they did one, and I screamed out loud, and her dad ran into the house and was like, is everything okay? And Grace is like, Dylan's watching a horror show. It's fine.
Did either of you watch Midnight Gospel? Or do you know what Midnight Gospel is? It's my only cartoon really that I have on my list. It's basically, I've never gotten high before, but I would imagine it's basically like if you did get high and then you talk, like you have one of those conversations about like the world and life and the universe and everything and like all these existential things. And so it's this really bright and colorful cartoon that follows, what's his name, Clancy, I think, is like the protagonist, and he has like a podcast pretty much, and he travels throughout the universe and just like interviews whoever he bumps into. And so in reality it's whoever the voice actor is for Clancy. I forget who he is, but I've seen him in other things, I think. And it's just him talking to like actual like philosophers or like spiritual people, and it's really cool and insightful while also being like a fun little happy adventure, and also kind of gross sometimes too. But it's a yummy little treat that like it has the look of like being innocent and fun, even though it might actually like kind of mentally bring you to your knees by the end of it.
The same thing about me.
What else you got?
I mean, we both did Avatar.
Oh, we did watch it. That was an early summer.
That was
summer for me.
Late May.
That does track. That makes sense.
That was the most. I have never seriously binged a show like I did Avatar.
Yeah.
Like, because they're so easy. They're 20-minute episodes, and I only watched the first season when I was a kid. I only watched like season 1, so I was watching a bunch of that, remembering it, and getting back into it, and then I was like, I have never seen anything after that. So everything else was like, I knew what happens, unfortunately, but still, it was a really great nostalgic.
Yeah.
Where I finished the show in not even a week.
It took me 2 days.
Oh my god!
I didn't leave bed. I woke up. I started. I went to bed.
Wow.
I didn't shower.
You committed.
I didn't.
Full commit.
And now Legend of Korra is on Netflix too, right?
Yep. I also did that in like a week.
I haven't seen that one. How's that one?
It's intense.
Yeah, I vaguely remember. I never finished watching it when it was like airing on TV, but I remember it being a bit more intense than Avatar was.
It goes from the Cabbage strat to society breaks us.
Right. Yeah.
Is that like one of those like it's geared for?
I don't know who that's geared for.
Like kid like our age that grew up with Avatar and then like
Maybe.
possibly.
But it came out because it was like a 2015 release.
Was it really?
Yeah, so there's a big gap.
I didn't know it came out in 2015.
Yeah, I don't feel like I realized that it was really not that long ago that Legend of Korra aired.
But I'm kind of a sucker for shows like that like give you your nostalgic childhood, but also give you like the themes of stuff I would watch now anyway. Like Clone Wars did that because spoiler alert, if you can't tell, we're rather large Star Wars fans.
Yes, they're sitting in front of a lot of Star Wars stuff.
But that was like Clone Wars did that too because I watched that too late in quarantine. I showed it to my brother because he only saw it like when we were in middle school or whatever. But they do that too where like the first like 2 or 3 seasons, Tim knows the exact cutoff of when they switched, but it was for like kids. And then all of a sudden they realized the age group was people like in like late high school, like in college, or like big Star Wars fans. So they kept all the animation obviously, but they like made the themes and stuff on in the show like darker, for lack of a better word, like more like adult themes or like stuff you'd watch in like a Star Wars movie or something like that.
So we went from fun lightsaber shenanigans to bombing the Jedi Temple.
Yes. And that was in the last season. They do like the lead up to episode 3. They do such a good job of like linking up the events with what's going on because you know what's going on because the time frame lines up. It's really, really well done writing by them for their final season. And I'm sad that it's over, but that last season was so good.
Yeah. It's Star Wars. Nothing's really effort over.
This is true.
That's very true.
Wait
Yeah.
till we're getting the Qui-Gon prequels.
You know what? I will watch them happily.
Okay, my next one is The Good Place, which I know Tim's been watching recently. Have either of you guys seen The Good Place?
I have not, but Tim gave us his intro spiel as to why we should watch The Good Place.
Strong recommendations. It was a show that I thought when it was like when I saw ads for it and stuff on TV when it was airing that I thought it looked dumb. and just silly and stupid. And boy, was I wrong. Like, don't get me wrong, like, it is silly and stupid, but it's also very insightful, which naturally, because it's about, like, you know, the afterlife and crap. And the guy from Cheers, Tommy, he's in it.
Which one?
The, like, main guy, Ted Danson.
What's his name?
Ted Danson's in it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just a fun little time. It's kind of got, like, it's maybe a little similar to Midnight Gospel, but it's not going to mess with your brain as much, except for the final few episodes of the entire show, naturally.
They go, like, deep into the idea of the afterlife and stuff like that,
yeah.
and what happens after death.
Right. They do indeed. And you're like, oh, in both a sad and a, like, sweet way. But otherwise, it's just silly, good fun, and they, you know, say fork instead of fuck and stuff like that. And then also they have, like, deep, like, relationships and learn, like, valuable lessons, and it's just a treat.
You can talk about Cobra Kai?
Okay, we're talking about Cobra Kai.
Wow, Cobra Kai, yeah.
I think Mandalorian, but we can say Mandalorian.
Yeah. Okay, think of everything that is good about every 80s movies ever.
Oh.
Now get rid of about 80% of the problematic stuff.
Yeah,
Now update the cameras.
Update the cameras.
That's a great. I like that explanation a lot.
Yeah.
Take
Need a picture, Tommy. I forget if it was Tim or you, Tommy, that were actively recommending Cobra Kai to people in, like, the group chat. But
I said that first.
you did. Okay.
Harshly shut down. Then Tim watched it one night and became the flag waver for it. And when every 10th message Tim put in the group chat was for people to watch Cobra Kai.
Yeah. And so it's like the kids from Karate Kid.
Yeah, it's the two main characters from the first Karate Kid.
Oh, cool.
Just grown up and what they're doing with their lives.
The concept is that the good guy in the Karate Kid is actually a terrible person. Which is a very easy case to make.
It is. Tim disagrees, but it's
very easy.
It's there. It follows more the story of oh my god, Johnny Lawrence, who's the bad guy in the original Cobra Kai.
Right.
I mean, the original Karate Kid. Wow.
You know, the very trained, dedicated karate dude who lost in the championship of the regional tournament an illegal kick. That guy.
That kick was illegal. They made posters of it in the show.
Yeah, that's
you're like,
illegal.
That's an illegal move. You can't do that.
I'll do my next big one. The current show that I'm watching right now is I'm rewatching New Girl right now. With New Girl's just, you know, what are your good old sitcoms about a bunch of roommate buddies and stuff, but it's particularly, it's particularly quirky, and they're just weird and get into hijinks, and quirky's really the word, you know. Zooey Deschanel, that's the word for her. She's in the show. She produced the show. It's a quirky show. And I'm convinced that it's because subconsciously I'm missing living with my roommates.
Oh.
Mandalorian time? I don't know.
I also, Schitt's Creek, I am currently watching. I'm on season 3.
Yeah.
Great showed it to me, and I absolutely love it. It took me like 4 episodes to like really get hooked on it. I love it. It's another one of those like really great, fun comedy shows that also has the bigger storylines going across, and like there's like some really sweet moments even early on, where like Alexis is like, I need a hug, and I was like, oh, Alexis was like, me too at quarantine.
Oh yeah.
I'd say Mandalorian.
Then I'll say Mandalorian.
Go for it.
Mandalorian.
When Solo came out, and I didn't know anything about it, I was like, they could do a cool like Western themed like Star Wars movie. Like how would like a Western Star Wars be? Because you could do, I'm going to expose how much of a nerd I am, but you could do like the outer rim of Star Wars, which has kind of got the Wild West, like I feel of it anyway, just run by like gangsters and like bounty hunters and all that stuff. But like Solo didn't go that route, which is fine, still a solid movie. But when The Mandalorian did it, like even in the first episode of season 1, like the first like 5 minutes, I was like, this is the only thing I've wanted from Star Wars since obviously the original, all that stuff came out. And I just absolutely adore the show.
Like the latter half of season 2, I thoroughly enjoyed more than any of like the first half of the second season or the first season. Because I felt like finally there was like legitimate suspense happening. I've said it before. Like I think as soon as you took Baby Yoda out of the picture, spoilers, and we're trying to figure out where he went and everything, I think that really ramps things up for Mando, especially. So like,
Absolutely.
it felt more like I don't know, there was more drive to the story finally, instead of just like, oh, we bop around and we go here and help this person and Baby Yoda's cute and then we leave.
And then there's a Baby Yoda gif. And there's a Baby Yoda gif.
Exactly.
I just feel like that was a lot of like what the first season was, too.
But it wasn't on purpose.
No, it wasn't on purpose, and it also was like just the storytelling across it. There's no like we can say like there's a couple boring, not great episodes, but there's no like, oh my god, I can't stand. I will never watch this episode ever again. And just like they do, I like tying in a couple other characters that are going around, but I don't like it always being all the same things all of the time. I like my Star Wars to be slightly diverse with little like, here's Ahsoka and here's like
Spoiler.
Oh, spoiler. And here's like some other characters from some other stuff, and just like throwing around like that with a whole new set of the main characters being new, and you can bring in a couple just to throw into fun.
Cool. Do you guys have anything you want to plug? Nudge, nudge.
Top Shelf Takes.
Amen.
Are us and Tim co-host. We go on and debate the top 6 of whatever we decide to do for the week, and it is the final that can't be debated, as Tim always says, and it's a great time.
I've been on it one time. I was in the superhero episode.
Yeah.
And then I think I've been asked to come on and be a judge soon, which I'm very excited about.
With the new format, you should absolutely come on.
Yes. It's so good. Honestly, like not even like plugging anything. Like the new format made me like thoroughly enjoy it.
Oh, the new format's really good. Tim did a great job with it.
Yeah. Cool. I'm just, you can listen to a Respectful Conversation on SoundCloud or Spotify. And you can watch it on Famous Secret Agent, which is also where you can watch Top Shelf Takes. What else? There's a Facebook group for a Respectful Conversation. There's links to the website, and on the website you can apply to be a guest. And I need more people to do that. Please do that. Cool. Okay. Bye, everybody. Thanks again, guys.